This episode of News Dump is brought to you by Feals.
Man, we really don't want to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League again this week, so let's put a pin in it until later in the episode, because first, we have to report the unfortunate news that Rudy Giuliani is melting.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, also he's incredibly gross. Just a disgusting person inside and out.
It's a little gnome.
Yeah, it's just sad to see him parade himself out there in front of cameras to make a fool of himself day in, day out. But he does it anyway. He could have faded from the spotlight a decade ago and people just would have always remembered him as America's mayor. Instead, we get to see him cranking his hog to foreign reporters, wearing clown shoes, and looking like this.
Oof.
Yeah.
So on Thursday of this week, President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, held a press conference where he made a bunch of wild and baseless claims about voter fraud. Again, which he claims would shift the results of the recent presidential election in favor of his client.
It's just that
Donald
easy.
Trump.
Yeah.
If you've been following the news at all over the past 2 weeks, you'll know that every time one of these lawsuits is presented to the court, they are either dismissed or the law firms behind them withdraw the complaints.
And in some cases, the law firms just say, "No, we're not going to handle these anymore."
Yeah.
We want to remain open.
Rudy was very clear. He's like, well, I wasn't involved in those. These are my cases.
Yeah.
You keep bringing up these other lawsuits. Those were, well, they were technically part of the Trump campaign, yes. But they weren't me, Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor. The whole thing's very sad, but they just keep doing it in what appears to be an attempt to just rile up Trump's base so they can just exclaim, if the election wasn't rigged, well, then why are there so many lawsuits being filed, huh? Or something to that effect.
Yeah, like that's the classic case of only accepting the first half of the information. Not that the lawsuits were thrown out or that there was no basis for them, just that, have you seen all the lawsuits that have been filed? This is something serious going on. Well, anyways, cut to this week's press conference, which, luckily for Rudy Giuliani, is actually inside of a normal-looking room with a nice American flag backdrop and not in an alleyway behind a landscaping company next to a pornography store.
I was hoping the next one would just be in the sewer.
Yeah. All right, we're here.
Come down here.
It was the cheapest thing we could find.
It's me, Slimy Rudy. I'm dripping.
We're just here to show that your donations are not going to our press conference locations. They're going to the lawsuits. Well, job well done on that front.
Yeah, pass me a slice of pizza.
Locations aside, this press conference was just as insane and pointless as the last. But one thing in particular stood out. It wasn't what Giuliani was saying necessarily or what he was trying to present as factual evidence of voter fraud. No, it wasn't that at all. It was all just him standing in a room that maybe was just a little too spicy. And it resulted in old Rudolph Giuliani breaking into a severe sweat, which led to hair dye or potentially something called Topic, leaking all the way down his face. Now, in case you're wondering, Topic is a product that makes your hair look as though it's thicker and fuller. Well, here's an example of absolute ghoul Stephen Miller covering up his bald head with it.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem to work all that well under the harsh lights of a Sunday morning news program.
You might be able to pull it off in a nicely lit but not overly so hotel lobby or restaurant or something like that. You're out on a date and the lights are dimmed.
It's all very risky though, because if you start sweating, oh God.
Look what happens.
If the woman you're trying to impress actually decides to have sex with you, she might touch your head and she's going to get it all over her hands.
And if she's got white pillows, watch out. It's going to look like you shit all over those pillows.
I just don't see, it seems like the dangers outweigh the benefits when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever it was that Julie had in his hair, it soon relocated down the sides of his face and into his little nappy. Let's take a look at this supercut from the press conference that was stitched together by The Recount.
Good afternoon. Did you all watch my cousin Vinny? He says to her, how many fingers do I? How many fingers do I got up? 3. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona. This is real. It is not made up. What we keep reading and hearing is that we have no evidence. We have no specifics. You're lying. You're lying. Ma'am. Let me answer the question. Let me answer the question.
Anyway, make sure you give them a follow. Their Twitter account is linked in the description below.
But great job. Very, starts off the press conference just hitting the mic. Boom. All right, welcome everybody. Like, Just straight up Tim and
The
Eric
man
shit.
it's insane how far he's fallen.
I didn't see his shoes this time, but I'm assuming he's wearing those
Yeah,
clogs.
his 2 tissue boxes.
Yeah. These are prescription shoes.
Yeah. Orthotics.
But it wasn't just political outlets or the general public who noticed that this was going on. And, everyone who noticed kind of grossed out by Giuliani.
What is that?
Melting like a candle in front of the world, both mentally and physically. Trump's own AV team, who were rebroadcasting the press conference, also had some choice words during the event when they were accidentally caught on a hot mic discussing what was happening.
A hot, wet mic.
Yeah. Now, quick warning, this is being shared as a recording from the official Trump page stream. There's a chance it could have been altered or dubbed over by someone, but a bunch of different accounts with different recordings. Some people recording their screen, some people doing actual screen recordings. It's all the same. People are recording the feed from the Trump Facebook page, the YouTube page. So
seems real.
It seems real. Anyway, here's the clip.
Flipping a coin 186,000 times and it lands on the
You fucking Rudy's hair dye dripping down his face.
Not happen. There is no reasonable explanation.
But that's not all, folks, because sure, Rudy Giuliani can't possibly control how ridiculously sweaty he gets. Some dudes are sweaty.
Yeah.
When you get to that age, you can choose not to enhance your hairstyle with artificial ingredients, or you could employ someone to do it correctly if you're as low as Giuliani probably is. But, he still can't control the sweat.
Yeah.
What he can't control, though, is not being blatantly gross and disgusting with his personal hygiene while he knows he's on camera.
Yeah, the camera's right there. You
Rudy,
invited the camera.
You're old. No one's going to be like, oh, gosh, look at that old-looking guy. Like, you're old. Who gives a shit? You're bald. You're old. You wear weird shoes. No one thinks you're hot.
But still, don't do gross stuff when you know the camera's there.
Anyway, here's what one TikTok account called Sloppy Donuts pointed out during this whole press event.
Yo, watch my man's over here. Yo, takes out the handkerchief, blowing his nose, takes it booger side in, smears his hands all over it, wipes it into his lips, all over his face. Son, he's wiping snot all over his face, smearing his hands into it.
That's fucking nasty.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Smears.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like that day when he was sitting next to that woman. I don't know if it's his wife or whatever, but when he said it, he's just like in a movie, in like a comedy movie, he takes out his nappy and is like, oh God, it's a little bit sweaty in here. Oh God. And then he puts it in his hand, covers his hands with it, and then reaches over and taps his wife or whatever and holds her hand with his disgusting hand that he just wiped sweat off.
How has this guy not gotten COVID yet?
I'm telling you, this whole press conference, he looks like he has it. But he also is just really fucking old and gross.
Yeah.
So there's really no difference.
Anyway, so what actually happened during the press conference? Well, look, you can watch it yourself and see, but it's just a bunch of nonsense and conspiracy theories, all of which have either been debunked or tossed out of court. They claim they got secret evidence they're not willing to share with us. That might even still include that Hunter Biden laptop that everyone sort of forgot about.
Check what's under the mystery box. You see that Trump is inviting the people who... So first, they didn't want to verify the results, and then everyone else was like, what are you fucking doing? You've already verified. Just verify the results.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, fine. So they verified the results in Michigan.
Then Trump called them up personally.
And then they were like, actually, we want to take back the fact that we verified it. And they're like, no, you can't do that. Yeah, and then Trump invited them to the White House. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Anyway, we did hear one new one from Rudy, which included false claims that U.S. votes are counted in Europe by a company owned by affiliates of Venezuela's authoritarian socialist leaders, and that the U.S. military seized computer servers belonging to voting machine manufacturers in Germany. Okay.
Yeah,
big if true.
Yeah.
I mean, if there really was anything going on, we probably would have heard about it by now. We're not going to repeat the instances that we've already talked about on this show. You should definitely watch yesterday's episode if you want some more info about the Trump administration's efforts to fight the reality of the 2020 election, including just firing anyone within his own administration who doesn't toe the current line of just...
and replacing them with people who have absolutely no experience. Just that they're either family members of Trump sycophants or they love our big wet president themselves.
Yeah.
So...
it's all very sad.
Yeah, and the days go by. Anyways, before we tone it down on the political stuff, it's time to check in on everyone's favorite right-wing cop rock band, Trapt. Yep, Trapt, the creators of the early 2000s hit song Headstrong.
And other such hits as File Not Found. They don't have any other hits.
They've decided, of course, recently to go full alt-right, spending most of their waking hours fighting with people on social media websites instead of writing new and tolerable music.
Yeah.
They did release a new album, but it's not tolerable. They're also one of the only bands of any recognition that have decided to go ahead and have live performances this year, including at the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally and Super Spreader event all the way back in August.
Yeah, they were proud. And even their crowds at that event were pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
You would think bikers would be more into Trapt than Smash Mouth, but the photos, they paint the opposite picture.
I love that Shrek movie.
Anyway, folks, we regret to inform you that Trapt is still out there playing shows. And they're one of the only bands doing so, or at least one of the only bands whose name is somewhat recognizable to the average person. Now, the good news here is that people are deciding to socially distance themselves from the band and their music.
Just trying to be safe.
Because the crowd at one of their recent shows at a strip club called the Rockstar Lounge in Fort Wayne, Indiana, well, I mean, just look at that. Look at that large crowd. Wow. You'd think with a turnout that big, the band would have been able to sell more than 600 albums during the first week of their latest release.
Yeah.
But fucking Napster, man.
It's that damn Napster. But the depressing photo of Trapt playing a live show isn't the only thing that's keeping them in the news this week. Turns out Trapt got a little too headstrong on Facebook, because Facebook couldn't even put up with their bullshit any longer. After apparently repeatedly promoting the Proud Boys on their public Facebook profile page, and then posting about how everyone should just leave Facebook and join them on far-right social media network Parler, which is owned or started by Dan Bongino, by the way.
He's involved. He didn't start it, but yeah.
He's definitely taking credit for it.
Yeah, good for him.
Their Facebook page, after all that, was banned and then seemingly deleted. The post they claimed that got them banned featured an image of a silhouette of a man dressed in the Proud Boys uniform, which is just, what is it,
Fred Perry shirt?
Fred Perry.
That Fred Perry discontinued because they're like, we don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, so they had that uniform on the thing, and that silhouette is carrying Lady Liberty, who is apparently dying and draped in an American flag with the text, "Don't worry, girl, we got you." So now, not only will no one pay to see Trapt play live, even at a strip club, but now a lot of people who formerly had access to their angry right-wing rants won't be able to even see them online for free, unless they go over and check out Dan Bongino's app.
Yeah, he's still on Twitter like every day, just lining up for dunks.
Yeah, he gets dunked on a lot.
Yeah, he just
You'd think
picks
he'd give
fights.
up.
He just goes on there all day and picks fights.
That's a lot of these like right-wing people just get off on getting dunked on.
Yeah, they love conflict.
Yeah. Anyways, fuck Trapt. They suck.
Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we get to the entertainment and movie news half of the show, let's take a quick second to chill out, relax, and let the stress drain from our bodies with help from today's sponsor, Feals.
Yeah.
Do you experience stress or have anxiety, chronic pain, or trouble sleeping at least once a week? Well, you are not alone. Many of us do. Personally, both of us have been having trouble nodding off at night during this whole pandemic thing and the election and everything else.
Yeah.
It's been a bad year, especially after a day filled with writing, filming, and editing.
It's hard to shut down.
Yeah, so we searched high and low for anything that would help, but bam, then we got Feals. And that changed the game.
Yeah, Feals is premium CBD delivered directly to your doorstep. Feals naturally help reduce stress, anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness. And for us, taking a few drops of Feals before bed really helped to whisk us away into slumberland for a restful night's sleep. Now here's what you do. You place a few drops of Feals under your tongue and you feel the difference within minutes. The thing to remember about CBD is that finding your right dose is important, and everyone's dose is different. So leave room to experiment over the course of a week or so. You may need to take more or less to get the effects that you are after. Now, Feals works naturally to help you feel better. There's no high, hangover, or addiction. Join the Feals community to get Feals delivered straight to your door every month, and you'll save money on every order, and you can pause or cancel whenever you want.
Feals has us feeling our best every day, and it can help you too. Become a member today by going to feals.com/newsdump, and you'll get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's FEALS.com/newsdump to become a member and get 50% automatically taken off your first order with free shipping. Feals.com/newsdump. All right, now let's get back into the news with, no, not Justice League, not yet.
No.
Save that for some other part of the video.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Conan O'Brien and some other things that bring us joy before talk about that other thing.
Yeah, we got good news, bad news regarding Conan O'Brien this week. So let's start with the bad news first. Conan is ending his late night talk show on TBS next year, 2021. TBS has been home to the Conan O'Brien show ever since Jay Leno crushed his dreams of hosting The Tonight Show on NBC just a few months into his contract.
Fucked up.
It was you had to be there. If you don't remember it and you didn't live through it as an adult.
There's a really good documentary. I can't remember the title of it, but it's just like Conan O'Brien dealing with the loss of The Tonight Show. Like,
he went on tour.
Yeah, he went on this comedy
tour,
and like he's just like, he's Conan O'Brien. He's a funny guy. It's the most just sort of like angry I've ever seen him.
Worked for 20 some odd years to get the coveted Tonight Show chair.
And they gave it to him, and then Jay Leno was like,
actually,
I think so. I think I might come back actually. So.
Go watch the documentary. It's crazy. It was a wild time back then for Conan, and you can tell that it really did have an effect on him. Like Elliot said, he's a happy-looking dude. He's a comedy guy, but anyone would be affected by losing the biggest gig of your life for really no reason. Well, look, when he landed at TBS, it was great news for him and his fans, but it wasn't his dream job, The Tonight Show. And now that belongs to Jimmy Fallon, of all people, who is squandering it.
Yeah.
And Conan was cast over to cable TV, where his show did do respectable numbers, but it could never grab hold of the kind of audience that NBC would naturally provide, regardless of who's hosting.
Now there's just way too many late night shows.
I like Stephen Colbert. I watch that every once in a while.
He's fine.
It's not like I sit and wait for it to come on, but if it's on, I'll toss it on.
I hope he gets better with the Biden administration, because his show, the straight Stephen Colbert covering politics got a little boring. Old school Stephen Colbert from the Colbert Report, where he was a caricature of like Bill O'Reilly, fucking hilarious. But his Trump content, I don't know.
Yeah, there was one person that like quit, I think during this year's election, just being like, I will never write another Trump joke ever again.
Yeah, I would get sick of it too.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Conan show on TBS went through a few changes over the years as it adapted to its own ecosystem, and Conan continued to branch out. He started podcasts. He did like shoulder content that was strictly for digital release. Really good travel show that's kind of just whenever he feels like it.
So the travel show will remain on TBS, which is cool.
So anyway, now his time at TBS has come to an end, but it's not all bad news, and this definitely isn't the last we've seen of him, because he'll be taking his talents across the lot to HBO Max, which has the same parent company as TBS anyway, but is also in desperate need of new subscribers to make sense of the outrageous amount of money that they're throwing at the platform in an attempt to make it work and compete with the likes of Disney Plus and Netflix. Yeah. So this is good for them, as is a DC-related story we'll probably talk about in a few moments. Conan's HBO Max show is going to air just once a week, as opposed to a nightly show. There's no info yet about like when the show will start or how greatly it'll differ from what he was doing over at TBS.
Their weekly topical stuff is great. Last Week Tonight is fantastic. So, like, if they can dilute all a week worth of Conan into one perfect show, I think this could be great.
Yeah, and it's something I might actually watch, like, full episodes of, instead of, like, the only way I've digested, like, daily late night has just been like whenever a clip goes viral or something.
Well, so that's the thing, is if you miss the show, it's like the next day you're like, well, that's old news now.
Yeah.
Unless it's an interview, which will pop up on YouTube. So
Anyway, again, it's the same parent company, so he probably won't have to change much. Regarding the move, though, O'Brien had this to say in a statement for Variety. In 1993, Johnny Carson gave me the best advice of my career. As soon as possible, get to a streaming platform.
A lot of foresight, that Johnny Carson.
I'm thrilled that I get to continue doing whatever the hell it is I do on HBO Max, and I look forward to a free subscription.
Yeah, hell yeah. Now, speaking of Warner Media and HBO Max, though, no, not the Snyder Cut yet, but we're getting close, we promise. Right now, all eyes are focused in on Wonder Woman 1984, which still, for some insane reason, is scheduled for release in theaters on Christmas Day of 2020, and they are not taking that back. It's absolutely nuts. These lunatics are going for it. They're really going for it.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes sense considering Warner Brothers also released Tenet in the midst of a pandemic that is still very much happening and is actually way worse now than it was a few months ago when Tenet tried to convince everyone that they should go back to the movies.
What a time.
Yeah.
So much safer back then.
Well, I look back at the Tenet days and I'm like, should have gone and seen it.
Yeah. Anyway, the good news here is that if you don't actually have to go to a theater if you don't want to for Wonder Woman, because instead of just shifting the entire theatrical release date for the film to sometime next year, when this godforsaken virus is hopefully handled correctly, Warner Media has opted to instead just release the film to HBO Max, so you can stream it from home if you want.
Yeah.
If anything can inject some life into HBO Max, and they need it, and even if it's a bunch of 1-month trial subscriptions, it's got to be a highly anticipated superhero movie that would have done extremely well in theaters at any other time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here's how it's going down with the new Wonder Woman movie.
The film will, quote, open both in theaters and on Warner Media's new streaming service, HBO Max, on December 25th, the company announced Wednesday. The article from the New York Times continues, with the box office so uncertain, a streaming debut should provide a boost to HBO Max, which has struggled to generate consumer enthusiasm since it started in May. Warner Media said Wonder Woman 1984 would be available to stream for a month at no extra cost to subscribers, which as of last month totaled 38 million. So yeah, this actually will work. I'll say it. This is going to work. People will definitely sign up and figure out the app for something like this.
And they'll see, there's so much shit on HBO Max.
Yeah, how many of them will stick around versus canceling their subscriptions is anyone's guess. But the hope for Warner is definitely that people will watch Warner or Wonder Woman and then browse around and get hooked on everything else that the app has to offer.
They have like every Looney Tune ever.
Yeah.
For the kids.
And even the new ones.
Yeah.
Also, it appears HBO Max has struck a deal to bring their app to Amazon devices. Hooray! I think we talked about this last week, but they're also, new update, very close to bringing their own app, not a workaround, to Roku sometime soon.
There are dozens of us.
Roku has the biggest share of streaming cord cutters, I believe, in the country.
Well, silent majority, I guess.
We are the silent, it's going to be the Roku Roundup in Washington, D.C.
Better look out, the Roku wave's coming.
Yeah. Yes, I would assume putting this out there, it's very predictable. If they don't do it, it's very dumb. Mm-hmm. But the Roku app will magically appear sometime before Wonder Woman.
It's coming to TiVo?
Yeah, maybe. Roku app, I'm guessing, right before Wonder Woman, or else that they would be so stupid. The stupidest thing would be like, you're getting Roku in February.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
Anyways, speaking of stupid. All right, folks, it's time to present you with the latest news from the Snyder Cut, and here it is. They went ahead and gave Steppenwolf a whole bunch of pointy boys, just the latest CGI sneak peek of this guy. He's very edgy.
Yeah.
Literally. The blades are spread out like wildfire on his body.
He looks like Super Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sequel.
He looks like the cover art to a computer video card from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
This shit went up and it immediately spread all over social media. And then, it's in the actual patched trailer.
They patched the trailer.
For the Snyder Cut, which was uploaded everywhere on YouTube earlier this week.
And a black and white one.
Yeah. The trailer showed off a few new, quick shots that amounted to at least 10% of what you're going to see that's new in the 4-hour cut.
Yeah.
If Snyder's statement last week about there only being 4 minutes of newly filmed footage added to the final cut is true. I mean, I guess it could also be like old footage that didn't get used, but I don't know.
Could be, who knows? It's very confusing.
Still, though, there are people out there defending this spiky son of a bitch till they're sore in the mouth. They're like, what?
What?
Looks great.
That's how I pictured it in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, if you want our opinion, you've already clicked off or left an angry comment by now. So for the rest of everyone, this looks like shit. The character, even in the Joss Whedon one, looked like shit.
Yeah, just
it looks bad here too.
Generic bad guy.
It looks like Ivan Ooze.
Yeah.
Except now it's spiky Ivan Ooze. It's Super Shredder mixed with Ivan Ooze. It looks like it was either rendered for the Xbox 360 because the whole thing is depressingly brown, like an old Gears of War game where they're like, well, the graphics are great because we got rid of all the colors so that it could process it.
We didn't have enough CPU to render colors. So.
Yeah. Or it looks like a character from the arcade version of Tekken from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That's what I pictured in my mind. I used to play a ton of Tekken Tag at the arcade, so as soon as I saw this, I was like, yeah, I know where that's from. It just looks like he's a throwaway bad guy from one of the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Or it looks like I can't even compare it to the pre-fixed Sonic the Hedgehog because that looks like a work of fucking art compared to this.
Yeah.
But anyways, either way you slice it, this prickly bad boy looks like ass. But hey, this is what you wanted. Don't get angry at us for just talking about
Enjoy your movie.
This movie or series or whatever the hell it ends up being, it's going to get made whether we like it or not. So you won.
Congratulations.
Take the W. Enjoy your Snyder Cut. We hope you're happy. We really hope that you're happy with whatever you get.
Yeah.
And did he make it into a 4-part series for HBO Max, but then immediately say that the proper way to see it is in IMAX in 2 parts in black and white? Sure, but that doesn't stop the vision from getting on the screen somehow. Look, he's doing great things for raising money for suicide prevention.
Yeah, that's
you have to give it to him.
I don't think Zack Snyder's a bad person.
No, I just don't think that he should have the keys to the entire studio right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sucks because, like, generally the one thing I actually admire about Zack Snyder is his eye, his sense of visuals.
Yeah.
So it sucks that somehow he really missed the mark on this Steppenwolf guy. Because he looks like shit.
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. He was radicalized by his fans.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, enough Snyder Cut news.
Yeah.
Lastly, today, we haven't seen it yet, but it's premiering now. The Animaniacs are back.
Yeah.
One of our favorite animated shows from our childhood is back with the same voice cast and hopefully the same quick-witted jokes and zany antics, despite being a show that was clearly made by Warner Brothers. Like, it's
their names.
Canonically a Warner Brothers show.
Literally the Warner Brothers and their sister Dot, which is the period on the end of Brothers.
Yeah. But yeah, despite that, you will not find this on HBO Max because, I don't know, that would make too much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to watch this all new Animaniacs, you'll have to head over to Hulu, where they'll be streaming for the foreseeable future. Yeah, they must have started developing this years ago, before HBO Max was on the table.
So that's the thing, is the original Animaniacs, and I'm assuming I wasn't an adult back when it premiered. I was in elementary or middle school or something like that. But I feel like being topical was easier back then, even in an animated show, because it felt like, at least for me, not enough stuff was happening that you were following on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You could make pop culture jokes that lasted more than 5 minutes.
George H.W. Bush.
Doing a topical animated series now that isn't South Park seems like a nightmare. And apparently the episodes were written like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's looking like it won't deal with stuff like that, which is going to be great for some people. They don't want to hear about Trump the whole time on this thing.
I want to know if it has the the side shows inside of it.
Yeah, they have Pinky and the Brain and all that.
Pinky and the Brain and
I don't think they sexualize the nurse anymore.
Hello, nurse. These cartoons are horny as fuck.
Cartoons used to be a lot more horny, folks.
Yeah. Anyway, aren't the streaming wars great?
Yeah, you got to watch it on Hulu.
They need to send us all like fucking phone books so we can figure out what's on
this
what.
on.
Yeah.
And the new TV guide, the streaming guide.
Yeah. Full circle, baby.
Wait, I've heard about this Queen's Gambit. Where is this?
What if there was just one box to put all my boxes in, and I pay one fee?
We can connect it all by cables.
God damn it. Anyway, it appears as though all 13 episodes of the new season will drop at the same time, so no waiting a week between each of them. That's good. Anyway, check your calendar. If it's on or past November 20th, you can go watch it right now. If it's still not November 20th yet, you wait.
Yeah, this will probably... This episode won't be up till like 9 p.m. our time anyway, so it's probably up.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you're feeling generous this holiday season and saving some money by not having your family over for a big, fat turkey dinner, or if you're skipping Christmas and keeping all the presents for yourself, take a second to check out the Kickstarter for our friend and frequent guest on the show, Nick Gregorio. He's looking for $300,000. What?
Jesus, Nick.
$300,000, I guess. He's looking for anyone outside of the production industry. That seems astronomical, but I swear that's what it costs to make things.
It's pretty low for just an
indie film.
Feature-length film.
Yeah, he's looking for $300,000 to make a movie that highlights family, tradition, understanding, and one that portrays Italian Americans in a positive light. Now,
but very needed these days.
We make fun of Italians pretty frequently, specifically Nick all the time. So, we'll be sure to drop him a few coins in the bucket.
A little racism tax.
Yeah, but hey, if you're interested in helping Nick out, head to his Kickstarter. There's a link in the description. And toss a few to him as well.
Yeah.
Skip the Salvation Army. Give it to Nick.
Give him the money.
Yeah. Oh, gabagool! Anyways, that cost me $10. I got to give him an extra $10. All right, so check out his Kickstarter in a link. All links to the stories in the description below. Check out our sponsors. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back for another episode of Weekly Weird News real soon. In the meantime, right over here, we have a new episode of Tech News Day, which features Space Karen. And then we have an episode of Internet Today Daily where drinking mouthwash, it doesn't do anything. But watch it because it's funny to think about.
Yeah.
Bye.
We'll see you.